Hey guys, this is Mike, your host of Craft Beer Storm and founder brewer at Bear Brewing Company in glorious Portsmouth, New Hampshire. And we're doing 360, like I say, 360. So we're going to the British Beer Company. They're located in Manchester. That's one of Manchester, New Hampshire. That's only one of the locations. They have 10, a couple in New Hampshire and a lot of them in Massachusetts. Good food there, and they do a lot of local craft beer. They give them discretion, to have local craft beer. So we've had our beer on tap at the British Beer Company in Manchester. They've been very good, and I said, hey, why don't you come on? And if any of you other restaurants or bars in New Hampshire that I supply to, come on in. Listen to this podcast. We had a great conversation, but let's get to it. I want you to understand. Stacy Martel is the general manager there, and she was on. She's very knowledgeable about beer and trends, and I think it's a lot of good information. So here we go. And we are here with Stacy Martel. She is the general manager of British Beer Company in Manchester, New Hampshire. How are you doing, Stacy?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm doing good. Thanks for taking the time out. I mean, I put the offer out there to bars and restaurants that carry our beer. I'm like, hey, I have a podcast, and if you want to get on, let's do it. And you said, yeah, let's do it, and you were very excited about it. And I'm like, cool. Because we can talk about what you have on tap and the history of British Beer Company, and it's just we do 360 here, so we touch upon everything in the craft beer world. Like I was out at the Craft Brewers Conference in Denver this week, and I saw a guy there, and his company specializes on date stamping the bottom of cans. And you're like, well, why is that important? I'm like, well, people go to a shelf, and then they pick up a 4-pack, and they look at the bottom of the can. If it's not a fresh date, they'll just put it back down, and they won't buy it.
Yeah.
So it's very important, especially for the company and the brewery. But tell me about British Beer Company, and tell me about what's going on in Manchester.
So British Beer Company is about 10 stores. There's 2 in New Hampshire, Manchester, and then Portsmouth. And Manchester, we started out really strong. This summer will be 7 years that we've been open, and we've been busy right from the beginning. So we had a really good welcoming to Manchester. I've been there from the beginning, and we've carried on since. There's been a lot of beer trends that we've watched, and our beers fluctuate. We have 38 tap lines, so we have plenty of room for plenty of different things.
That's a nice amount of tap lines. That's great. 38. Wow.
Even with 38, sometimes I'm like, I just wish I had 2 more.
Is that right?
Yeah, I can never decide. We're catering to such a wide population. Manchester is a kind of a funny area to be in. You're near the airport, so you get a lot of people traveling, but it's Manchester. It's very, it's very mellow, but it's a big city. You get a lot of people from looking for bigger things, more interesting things. So it's like you need a wide variety.
I've been
and then everything beer seasons change too, so you have to cater to that.
It is true. I was up in Manchester recently, just walking up and down Elm Street, right? The major street there. And we have our beer in a bunch of places there. We have in Portland Pie. We're in Thirsty Moose. We got into Republic. We're in the Hop Knot. So I'm just trying to hit other places, see if they'll take our beer. But it's jumping, man. It's booming. Like I go in there on a Tuesday evening and it's packed.
Yep.
I'm like, where are these people coming from? So Manchester is up and coming, I think, and given that amount of people, you're also at a crossroads. You're kind of 93, 101.
Yep.
In
a lot
New
of
Hampshire.
Travelers.
For people that know what New Hampshire, and then you go a little bit north, you got Concord, and you got people coming from the south, east, west. You got people from all over. So I understand what you're saying about the different tastes, and but that's what's interesting about craft beer. It's just, and I had people in the tap room today, and there was a woman who came in, and a man. There were a couple, and then she's like, I don't like the sweet stuff, and she liked the darker beers, right? The stouts, and then the guy's like, no, I like the sweeter stuff, and he likes like muscatel, like very sweet wine. Like usually it's the opposite, right? So you never know, depending on the
It is, yeah.
person and their taste buds, you know.
Yeah.
So well, that's awesome, yeah. And then so you have and there's food there. I think you have pizza, right? Do you guys
Yeah.
pizza?
Yeah, we have great pizza. We have kind of a wide variety of a menu. It's obviously, English inspired. And we have pies, we have pasties, but we also have a lot of sandwiches, burgers. Our pizza is actually really good, really good. So
I think I had one of those pies there. Do you have a pie? I think you had like a shepherd's pie or something like that.
yeah, we have a shepherd's pie. We also have a shepherd's pie pasty. So it's the shepherd's pie filling in the mashed potatoes inside a puff pastry, and it's baked in the oven. It's delicious.
You know, I lived in England. I lived in London, outside of London. I remember that stuff there. That stuff was awesome. And the pubs there. And you have London Pride, right, on tap?
We do, yeah. We carry 3 fillers. We have Fuller's London Pride, Fuller's Porter, and Fuller's ESB.
Wow.
And they're on the hand-pumped engine, too. So
And it's hand
just
pumped.
like, mm-hmm.
That's is it a cask or what is it? Is it?
It's not.
It's
It's
a
not.
keg.
It's a keg. Yep, you can actually hook any keg up to those lines and pour it from it. It pours the same way. It tastes the same. Some people say that they notice a difference in temperature, but they're all held in the same beer cooler. So.
Yeah, I know. I love those ales. I would never think I would like, like cellar temperature ales.
Yeah.
And when I went to England, I'm like, damn, the Fuller's Badger ales. You should try. I don't know if they would have to have any restrictions, but if you can get your hands on Badger ales, like English, that stuff is awesome. Tanglefoot. Tell me if you get it, I'll come up there. We'll do another live podcast about Tanglefoot. It was awesome. I don't know if I can find it here, but I do, and I appreciate the English. We do cask ales as well periodically, like for Nirax.
Yeah.
They have the festival periodically, and they say, "Hey, can we have a cask ale?" We did the stout for them. We did I also did the cake, the Oreo infused Java porter. Did you ever have that on tap? I think you did.
Yeah, that's what we had on tap. That was delicious.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
It's so good. And then I did it in a cask, right? With like just crushed up Oreos and just poured them in. And it's awesome.
I think we had cask conditioned ales for a while, and then, we just had a hard time selling them before they went, just because it wasn't a huge thing 7 years ago. You know what I mean? So it was right when we opened, we had them. But if you lined up like something on cask and then a regular barreled beer and put them together, the flavor profiles are different. It's crazy, the differences between the two.
And the cask, you're correct. Once you tap a cask, there's like no CO2, because usually CO2 is constantly infused into a keg. That way it keeps oxygen out, because oxygen is an enemy for the beer. Oxygen, light, and heat. So if you tap a cask, you gotta serve that thing within a couple of days, right, or a week.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Otherwise, it just goes bad. So I understand what you're saying. Like you can't tap like too many of them. Then people don't know. And also it has to catch on. A lot of people don't know what cask ale is.
Yeah.
Right? That's another topic. I should call the Nirax guys. Have them on the podcast. Thanks for reminding me. I want to make a note of that. But
glad to help.
It is so it's interesting. Yeah, you have a lot of tap lines. So what are you seeing? I mean, you carry a lot of local beers as well. You carry ours, but you carry a lot of local beers, which is great. And that's what we're trending. We're trying to promote local beers.
Yeah.
So I mean, how has that been? I mean, working with local brewers.
Local always goes really well. It's one of those, people come in, whether they're from nearby or traveling, when people go somewhere, they want to have what's local. And when you live there, you want to have what's local. So it's always like it's always a question people ask. It's, what do you have for English beers and what do you have for local? Like, tell me what your locals are. So we make it a point to support local and make sure we, are consistently carrying locals and switching them up, because people always want to try something new and different. So, but it's one of those things that you put it on and it'll go. If it's nearby, it's good. It's golden.
Yeah, I do that too when I travel. I always look for local, because I want to see what's happening locally, and usually the local beers are very good. I mean, if you put them on tap and they're bad, you'll get rid of them. But
Yeah.
but usually, the taps have really good beer, and it's fresh, right?
Yeah.
Fresh beer, which is
Yep.
awesome.
Yep.
Um, and what do you see? Like there are some challenges that I guess a lot of brewers face. Have you heard anything like when people come in terms of what issues they have?
In terms of brewers and like our brewers in general, the breweries that I work with, some of them have it's a problem with like some of the smaller ones or self-distributing ones have a problem keeping up, with maybe what, they grew quick. They have a hard time producing, and some of them it's just, what I would imagine would be an industry problem. It's just not cooperating the way you want. The color isn't looking the way you want, but it tastes exactly the same. And it's weird, but people will, I'll be like, nope, this is the beer. It looks a little hazier than normal. And they'll be like, nope, not drinking it. So, and it's just that one thing that makes them, send
Wow.
it back. And that's right. To me, it's odd, but I mean, I understand because I actually wasn't always a beer lover, nor did I understand beer. It started about 7 years ago. So I understand it, but it's kind of like, it's kind of ridiculous. You gotta kind of taste it and then move forward from there. But I mean, overall, everyone's trying to keep up and with something, start something fresh and keep up with like the trends. And I mean, there's so much craft beer. There's so many options. So you need to have something. You need to be the one that stands out, and you have to find what works and do it. I guess is what they're all
You
what they're
you
all kind of
do,
doing.
and you have to
Hmm.
constantly innovate and create new stuff. That's the
Yeah.
challenge,
Hmm.
and you got to do it. And you got to make quantity, and then if it takes off, then you're okay. Well, what do I do? I have to make more, but you can't just like make it in a day. It takes like 3 weeks to make it.
Yeah. And you're still trying
So,
to balance the other stuff. You're still trying to come up with something fresh and new and the next newest thing. And you only have so much room to brew.
and trends change like every 6 months. I was at the Craft Brewers Conference. It's ridiculous. I mean, this year, prior years, like the fastest trending item that people were looking for was IPAs, right? Hoppy.
Hmm. Yep.
This year, which is very encouraging. The first category was highest trending was crisp, like
Yeah.
lagers,
Hmm.
pilsners, and then the second one was dark. I was
Yeah.
like,
Dark beers are
this
booming.
this is awesome. That's the slide that I saw. And actually, I had an interview with Bart Watson. He's the chief economist for BA. I had him in a room and I did an interview with him. He's like the, I don't know if you remember Alan Greenspan, like for the Fed,
No.
the Federal
No.
Reserve. He was the Federal Reserve chairman, right? I
Okay.
think it was Bush or something. And like,
Hmm.
he talked about irrational exuberance where before we had the crash, like in 2008,
Yeah.
like you said, people were going nuts, and they just hung on every word that he was talking about. So Bart Watson's kind of the same guy for beer. So they want to know what the trends are, and he's I guess he's correct, right? You've just verified that people are looking for dark ales as well.
Yeah. It's continued. Usually it's like, as soon as the weather starts to warm up, the dark beers can go away, and not go away, but the demand for them kind of drops a little bit. I'll drink, dark beers all year round, but not everybody does that. Um, but we have several on right now, and they're still, they're moving faster than some of the rest of them. And at this point in the season, you'd expect to see, IPAs making a bigger comeback because those are bigger in the summer typically. Even like sours never really went away. I expected them to go away for the winter, and those were consistent as well.
Hmm.
It's just not the normal trend that you would see for this time of year. Like, I have a lot more stouts and porters on than I would normally have on, but I mean, they're moving. I'll keep them.
If they
If it
move,
sells, I'll have it.
why not? That you have a
Yeah.
business, and a lot of people lose sight of that, like cool things, and you got to see
Yeah.
what moves, and put more of that stuff on because it's a business. You got to generate income.
Yeah. I like what moves, and I like what's not. I like to find things that aren't everywhere. Like, if you can walk next door and get it, why are you going to come get it here? Sort of thing.
Yeah.
And it's, just because it's there today does not mean it's there tomorrow.
Mm.
I like to keep it, switching it up. Even the stouts and porters, like, okay, that one did well, but let's see what this one does. Let's try something new. There's too many beers to to just, stick with one and wait for it to fizzle out. We'll just stick with one for a little bit, and then we'll switch before the fizzle happens.
Right. And one of the other like shocking things for me, I guess, is Michelob Ultra is selling crazy amounts of beer. They're selling like millions of barrels of beer because people are trending. The way they're marketing it is towards the fit lifestyle. Yep. Low carb. Yep. Right. Have you seen that? Have you seen a lot of people gravitating towards the low carb beers? Or?
Yeah. Yeah, it's weird. Usually, like, you see it with in the summertime, people will look for lighter things because, everyone wants to be beach body ready, quote unquote. And then, for like a month in January, it's like New Year, New Me. And then they'll like drink, some more, lower, lighter things. But I've noticed that it's like, it's not going away. I've been ordering more. It's like more in demand. And I find that odd. But I think there's other places that are trying to cater more towards that and make it like a health conscious beer. I've seen a couple of different beers marketed that way, which I found interesting.
What kind of beers are you ordering then, like the low carb ones, or you're seeing that are selling well?
For low carb ones, we only carry Mich Ultra.
There you go.
But we've had a boost even in that. Like I could get away with ordering a case every other week or so, and it's been at least a case a week, which is just strange for this, especially for this time of year, but it's just odd in general. So it was very different.
So if I made a low carb beer, would you be interested in that?
It all depends what it tastes like.
It's going to be awesome.
Well, then yes, I'd be interested.
Actually, you know what? I was at one of the talks there, brew talks, and Sam from Dogfish Head was there on the stage, and they just made Dogfish just made a low carb IPA.
Really?
And he showed it. I didn't taste it, but he was just talking about the Mich Ultra, and they're freaking brewing like millions of barrels of beer. They're killing it. And I confirmed that with other people too. They're like, yeah, it's just they're killing it. So he did an IPA. I didn't, I'm sure it's probably good, right? He wouldn't put out crap. He's not going to put out garbage beer. So I would look out for that. Also, the Bera low carb beer. I think that'd be awesome.
That's going to be in the works.
I have to do that. I have to do that now because that's what people, they look for trends, and.
Yeah.
Bart Watson was right because he said that people were going to trend towards lagers and crisper ales, and they did.
I have noticed I get beer reps in all the time, every week, multiple, and it comes in waves of what they're bringing you. And the past month has been all lagers and pilsners.
Yeah.
Yep.
That's what's trending, and people are looking for that. I think they're looking for the lighter, beers. I even saw at the conference there was a company there that dealcoholized beer. Like they would take a double IPA and they can run it through a machine and take all the alcohol out.
That's crazy.
With the same characteristics as hops and everything. Yeah. I'm like, are you kidding me? He's like, no. He's like, well, why do they need alcohol in the beer? He's like, I don't know. You can drink this beer at the pool with your kids, which I think. Yeah.
I saw something the other day that Weinstoffner is producing a non-alcoholic wheat beer.
Oh, they are?
Yeah. And I was like, that's very interesting. I was like, how would they do that? But I guess this would be how
there's machines that do it. Yeah. I interviewed this guy and I'm going to put him, I had so many snippets and sound bites, man. I had like 50 of them. So I'm trying to break them out. I'm trying to consolidate them into podcasts to get out there. Yeah. So much information like in one place is ridiculous. But apparently they can do that. So, we'll see what happens in terms of the, because if I'm out to lunch, right? I don't want to drink a double IPA. I'll take, if I can take a beer has the same profile and the same taste, and no alcohol, that'd be awesome. I drink one every day at lunch.
Definitely. I agree.
And actually,
sometimes you need to continue on with your day.
You do,
but still enjoy a beer.
That's when I go out. I'm hitting restaurants, and then I'll meet somebody. And I'm like, I don't know if I should drink this beer out. That'll be the end of my day.
Yeah, exactly.
And then I do, and it's the end of my day. But usually it's later in the day. It's later in the day after I hit all these other places. But So And I think a lot of it. Now, what's like some of the top sellers in your place? I guess the styles right now. You're saying you think the pilsners and the lagers, or what are you seeing?
Well, pilsners and lagers are being shown to me more, but it's not our lagers. Other than our lagers don't move incredibly well. They're all moderately slow. They're slow. They're still not
You still see like the double
moving
IPAs,
really
the
quick.
extreme beers moving, or
Yeah, it's always the high ABV and the local are like the fastest ones to go. And then other than that, it's like the hard to find or the different sort of beers. The Bear Irish Cake, for example, did really well because it's not everywhere, and it's dark and it's delicious, and it's, it sounds, you read it and you're like, oh yeah, I totally want that. Even people who don't typically like dark beers would try it.
Oh yeah.
To see if, like, because they're like, oh yeah, well, that does sound interesting. And it's those things that, you just need somebody to take a sample, and that's, if you can get them to get a sample, then you're good. That's all you got to do.
Well,
So.
it's just a tip for you. What we do in the tap room is we pour them a pint of cake, and then we put a scoop of vanilla ice cream in it.
Oh, that would be really good.
And give them a spoon.
Yeah.
So you can market that as a dessert as well.
Yeah, that would be good.
Oh, it is good. It's
I'll
very
edit
good.
my menu tomorrow.
you gotta change your menu. I gotta get more kegs.
I'm gonna have to change the whole
I
menu.
have it. You call me tomorrow. I'll get those kegs up to you. No problem. And then we'll talk about nitro too. But I mean, it is the interesting part of craft beer that it can be all over the place, and there are unique beers. But I still, and especially in New Hampshire, man, I make 2 double IPAs. You put on nitro once. You put the Outer Limits. You had that for a while.
Yep.
Which is very good. That's with the Galaxy hops, excellent hops from Australia. And now I have the Feckett, which is a West Coast hop blend. It's delicious hops, but they're both double IPAs, and they sell crazy. They sell well.
We've carried them both before. I don't remember if the Feckett was on nitro or just a regular.
Might have been a regular.
line.
I don't know. I remember I went up there and I had the Outer Limits on nitro. It was really good. It's awesome.
Yeah, it's one of those. I mean, there's specific things that you can put them on, and they'll go. It doesn't matter where it's from or who it's from. I personally I enjoy supporting local. I think it's important to support local.
That's great.
And people ask for local. So, and we're so close to the airport and the highways that it's good to have local. That's a question that people ask frequently.
Yeah. I appreciate that. And then all the brewers in New Hampshire appreciate that too. It's awesome. Yeah, and speaking of local, I mean, I guess you see a lot of people coming in and looking for a local, like hyper-local beer. And I know that's impacted. It's impacted even regional breweries, like, significantly, The local breweries just popping up and just taking a lot of the market share. Is that what you've seen as well? Or?
Yeah, definitely. It's all like, I don't want to name brands here, but it's big brands that you can, literally fly anywhere in the U.S., get off the plane and see their beer. And it's like, okay, well, I can have their beer down the street, or I could have it here, or I could have it at home, or I could have it clear on the other side of the United States, and it makes it harder for them to go places and market their beer, because it's like, well, it's everywhere. Like, I could get this, which people could get everywhere, and yeah, it would move, but this would bring people in because there's people looking for specific things. 2019 is like, it's all social media, and there's different beer platforms, and there's so many ways to like market your beer out there. There's Untapped, and there's all that, and people can follow beers, which is funny. It's like following a person, but you follow a beer, and then you know where to find it. And it's one of those things, and it makes it harder, I think, for bigger companies too, because if you go somewhere and it's this big company or a smaller one, I would get the smaller one because it's harder to find.
Yeah, because you can't have it at home, and it's probably fresher and better.
Yeah.
So, it's good stuff.
Doesn't mean there's anything wrong with the larger ones. It's just I can get it anywhere. I can just drink it at home.
That's right. And that's trending, and it's hurt a lot of the bigger companies, but it's also helped a lot of the smaller breweries that are starting up, and they need to make income. They need to sell their beer, make get revenue keep coming in. They have their tap rooms, but they also have to distribute to restaurants. And there are a number of restaurants where I go in and they're like, we don't deal with self-distributors, which really pisses me off. I'd love to expose all of them, but I'm not going to do that. You don't, and I'm really surprised. But well, because you're a British beer company, you have 10, right? Sometimes these larger chains, I mean, you're not a huge chain, but you have a number of locations, and then you go in, and they're like, we don't deal with you guys. We have our Budweiser and stuff like that. But
well, even though we have 10, we're all, we're the pub that has the most amount of tap lines. So not every pub has the same amount of lines, and not everybody has the same beer. And there's a handful that, we're required to keep on, but the rest is like, fair game.
Well, that's great that you have discretion. Yeah, a lot of these chain restaurants don't have discretion. They're like, they have like one tap line out of 10. The rest of it is corporate mandated, which is BS. I went into like Applebee's. I went into,
that's
99 and stuff like that. And
that's hard even for, as from like a managing aspect to know that, this is what your customer wants is something local and you can't provide
they're frustrated.
Because this is what your corporate office is telling you. That's, that's hard. That's frustrating. There is like, there has to be a balance of, self-distributes for myself personally, just based on, how they get paid, but it's manageable. I think I have 4 on right now, and it's, it's fine. It works, and I don't mind doing it. I think it's great.
Yeah, that's the challenge that they face. That's the, brother, I'd like to have you on. I'd like to take you on, but we have to go through the management. And there's layers of management. It's not just this guy's manager. It's his district manager, and then there's another regional manager that you got to get approval from. I'm like, well, where are these guys? Can I talk to them? No, they'll be in on Wednesday morning between 8 and 9. I'm like, all right, that's great. I really can't see them, but can we schedule a phone call? Well, I don't know what to schedule. It's like, it's a maze to try to get on. So, but I appreciate that you guys have that many strap lines, and you have, it's great that they gave you that leverage, that you can, the discretion that you can kind of put local beers on tap. I think it benefits everybody. They're making more money. Why does, right?
Yeah. They're behind us doing, like, you do what you got to do what works for your pub, which is why they typically, don't mandate a whole ton. It's, here, have these, and then do what works for you. So.
Yeah. So I used to ask everybody this question: craft beer bubble. Do you think it exists, or is there room for growth?
I think there's always room for growth. I just think that the bubble is going to expand ultimately. I mean, yes, everyone's doing quote unquote the same thing. They're brewing beer, they're selling beer, but think of like, even 10 or 20 years ago where beer was and where it is today. There's always something new. There's something else that can be done. It's just a matter of, sitting down and realizing that there's something more to be done and there's something else that can be done. And I mean, that's like a really challenging job, but a really fun job at the same time. It's like, I know there's something there. I just need to find it, and I just need to come up with it, whether it's like a flavor combination or how something brewed or something like that. I mean, I think there's totally room for growth. And I mean, people aren't just going to wake up one day and stop drinking beer. That's not going to happen.
No, beer has been around historically. Yeah. And you know what, Stacy? I went to the Craft Brewers Conference, and there was 14,500 people there. And you know what? I said, where the hell else am I going to go where all 14,500 are happy, right?
Yeah, that's crazy. Yeah,
and that's because of
fun.
Beer.
Yeah.
It's because of beer. And it's not, you don't have to get hammered on beer. It's something that brings people together. And it's a great thing, So it will continue to thrive, and I think the big guys are panicking because a lot of the smaller brewers are, they're not going away. I think there was a wave before. It seems like the same thing. I'm seeing parallels between the internet boom that happened like in the early 2000s, and then it collapsed, and now it came back, and now it's taking hold. Like social media is like nuts. Yeah. Like I'm a podcast. They gave me a free pass, like to the conference. I'm like,
That's
dude, and I'm gonna do a and I had a couple of the Brew Association people on there, and I'm just gonna promote them. So I think
yeah.
it's good, and it's media, so everything is trending toward podcasts. Nobody wants to sit through an hour's worth of news and commercials, and then hopefully they talk about the topic they want. People don't want to do that. They want to look at their phone. All right, how can I get this information? Oh, podcast. All right, click, boom. And then you have somebody talking for a half hour about their specific topic.
Yep.
This is what people want. So, all right, Stacy. So it's been an awesome conversation. And if people want to get in hold of you or British Beer Company, I mean, how do they get a hold of you guys?
We are on Facebook. They can come visit the pub. It's right on South Willow Street. It's hard to miss. We're a very bright building. Or they can always call the pub or email the pub. Either way.
So if they Google it, they'll find you guys.
They'll Google it. They'll find it. Yeah, we have website, Facebook.
And then there's the British Beer, I believe, .com. Yeah.
Yep.
BritishBeer.com. Where you can look at all the British Beer Company locations. Portsmouth, They have them, and all over Massachusetts.
Yep.
So great food, great beer. It's a good time. And if you go in and you don't see the Bear Brewing on tap at one of the locations, you have to say, "Where's that Bear Brew?" But Stacy, you've been very, very kind to me and us, and you've supported us, and I appreciate you, and I appreciate what you guys are doing. So,
of course, thanks for having me on.
I wish you the best, and we'll keep in touch.
Yeah, definitely.
All right, awesome.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks. Yeah, that was Stacy Martel, and she's the general manager of Manchester British Beer Company in Manchester, New Hampshire. So they're very good. They're very supportive of me as a brewer and our brewery. We got our beer on there, and we had a great conversation. She's very knowledgeable. She knows what's going on. She sees trends. A lot of industry experience, and it's all good stuff. And she puts a lot of local craft beer on, which is fantastic. A lot of other restaurants should take this as an example. So when I walk in and you say, "Oh, we don't deal with self-distributors," you won't say that, because you'll take our beer because it is good. And see, we're on British Beer Company, and she likes it, and she keeps ordering it. So there you go. Anyway, that's our show for today. If you like what we're presenting to you, if you like our guests, we're getting heavy duty people here, man. Heavy duty brewers. Where else are you going to get this? Craft Brewer Conference. All kinds of different people in the industry, canning, labeling, grain, yeast, hops, everything that goes into beer. And now you got the place that serves it as well. So we're all about craft beer. We love it, and we love the people in the industry. Fantastic. And if you like what we're doing, please go onto iTunes, subscribe, leave us a rating and a review. I would appreciate that. That's the only way we get up in the rankings. We've hit some good highs. We were like number 12 in the food category on iTunes. That's crazy, right? Guy from New Hampshire. And also we were number 73, I believe, in the arts category, which includes food. That's all of iTunes. That's crazy, dude. There's 550,000 podcasts. Crazy, crazy, crazy. But we're attracting a lot of good people. Good information for you. But please go on to iTunes. Help us out. Give us a rating and review. Subscribe. Okay, that's all I have for you today. I wish you the best rest of the day, and we will see you on Wednesday. Take care.